since graduating, I have inadvertently done what seems to be research on cults and cultish behavior and what makes a cult and their similarities and these kinds of things. Because there's part of me that wants to build a very robust community. And like, I have these thoughts of what if, I built this place and only Vedic meditators live there, or we did all this kind of stuff, And then I think that's not necessary. That's not what it's about. And if I were to go down that path, could I maybe start with great intentions, but take it to something that doesn't need to be? And so applying that lens to Vedic meditation and TM and the way that it was brought here to the West with Maharishi, my doubt is that there is maybe some secrecy or things that have been veiled to make the practice maybe a little bit more attractive that I think doesn't necessarily need to be so. And I guess my biggest thing is how deep do I want to go in uncovering that? Because I believe there is, people in the TM organization who learn from Maharishi were, the same technique that we were taught, who have had nothing but amazing, wonderful, great experiences, live and die by his word. And then there's people who say completely opposite, different kind of things. And so not having ever known him and only kind of having the positive information that I've gotten, I'm curious to explore the dark side. And I think it starts with having those doubts. Is there validity to what people have said? And why is there seems to be this secrecy kind of a thing? And what I found really interesting, that one of the things that cults do is they create secrecy around certain ideas so that it intrigues the followers because they want to cross that barrier and get into the knowledge. So if you want people to become interested in something, tell them that they can't have it. That immediately draws people's attention. So I believe that those kinds of policies have found their way in, not only into Vedic meditation, but into the wellness space a bit. And is that necessary? I doubt that that's necessary. Now, if you want to create a large following, a big movement per se, then if you make it exclusive and if you make it tiered and there's levels and all these things, I could see how attractive that could become, especially for people who are looking for answers to huge life questions. I just recently watched again for the second time Wild Wild Country. And having watched it before and now knowing what's coming, the question that's always on my mind is people who, the state of mind and the state of consciousness they were in when they were in the throes of it, where they felt like this is amazing, it's love, it's great, to this shift that it takes where they start to go, something's not right, but they stay. And then the point where they go, this is out of control. We are now engaging in behaviors we never would have, but they've spent so much time. It's almost as to wake up, they have to deny this huge part of what they've either witnessed or experienced, which is really difficult. And then stepping back away from it, 20 years and go, oh, hindsight is 2020. So I wonder, am I doing that to an extent? Am I actively ignoring some of the things that give me pause around secrecy, hierarchy, and things of those nature? And am I doing it? Why am I doing that? Am I, there's something about it, it's this, I would say. I believe that this technique, much like many others in the wellness space, has this mystique that if we pull back the curtain, this is the fear, that we don't want people to see the man behind the curtain. And to me, I think revealing the man behind the curtain is actually probably the most powerful thing that we can do, because for me, it allows me to say there's all this value and benefit that I'm getting, that I can offer my students. And it doesn't need to be the Wizard of Oz man in the sky presentation. I can still give all of these amazing things, but from a much more, I'm a regular person. These are regular things that we're doing. We're just doing them in a fashion that produces extraordinary results. And that's it. But I don't believe the way that I was taught. It still has some of that. It still has, and I doubt if it's needed. And I'm curious as to what that looks like in my journey to uncover.
Yeah. Very interesting. So yeah, it reminds me of watching the Scientology documentary. I can't remember what it's called, but that idea of levels. And there are levels in VM. We can't deny it. There are different courses you can do, and there are multiple numbers of them. Yeah, and they all cost more money. And it's interesting that that idea of, you know, what is a cult. And I think it's important that, you know, Vedic meditation is the way we talk about it. It's a householder practice. It's for people who live in the world, who have relationships and jobs, etc. So when it gets taken, like it did in the 60s and 70s, into those communes, then it's no longer a householder technique. You're like in Wild Wild Country, they're more like sannyasis. It's much more monk like. So it's very interesting topic. Maybe we do a whole episode on is VM a cult?
Well, the Leah Remini Scientology series that I think started in 2016, I had never seen up until a few months ago. And I found them riveting, riveting. Because again, I didn't know what it was really all about. And as she's revealing this whole, you know, idea about thetans and in the body and Xenu that sounds absolutely ridiculous, that people still, hook, line, and sinker, are all in. But to also, I guess that this is the thing I want to keep my eye on. When it becomes obvious that asking questions is not allowed, that's like my, okay, something's really wrong, you know, even with religion, you know. And I've heard someone say, all religion really is cult plus time. That's a religion. There's a charismatic leader, there's some kind of fundamental principle or idea that people rally around. They create culture, they sing, they do things together. And if that lasts over a long enough period of time, well, you have yourself a religion, kind of a thing. So I'm always, as much as I'm always like, because I do believe I believe that the world would be a better place if everyone on the planet engaged in a type of meditation? 100%. Is there a part of me that wants to facilitate that? Absolutely. But at the same time, when I have that propensity to do that, I almost move in the opposite direction because I feel like that was the thing that became the downfall, is everybody getting into those groups and doing it so intensely that that's part of the outcome. You run the risk of it becoming something unintended. And so let's keep it more free. Let's keep it, let me move around all the time and just not have to have, like, even as a dance teacher, I there make no mistake, when I was in New York training, there were teachers that I studied with that would have a flock of students who took their class religiously, and they would interact with them outside of class in a certain way. And it became a little worshipy kind of a thing, which I never got into because I was just like, I want to dance and I want to whatever. I don't care if I'm popular. I don't, because there's something about that I don't want. And so when I became a teacher, I never did that. I never engaged in conversation with my students after class. I didn't hang out with them at other places because I wanted to really always maintain that teacher student dynamic. I didn't want the lines to become blurry. Um, so I think I do that kind of already naturally as a teacher. I keep my distance, but we'll see. I don't know.
The other interesting thing about that, the Scientology documentary, whichever one, I think it was Going Clear, the one that I saw, is that it seemed at the beginning parts of it, it seems really quite normal, like these questions where you go, oh, that would be interesting to get rid of those things. And it even sounds quite, meditation-y. It's like getting rid of those stresses. I'm just like, well, okay, well, this all sounds fair enough. But it's I guess the skill with which they turn that completely normal, get rid of these stresses and psychological things from your past into, we have these aliens landing in a volcano.
So what I love about, I went to Clearwater because I'm not that far from it now. And I had seen in her documentary there was the headquarters and how they had like eaten up all this real estate. And I actually went in to use the bathroom, and I was asked if I wanted to take a survey, and I said no, 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 thank you, I'm good, because that's kind of the gateway in a little bit. And it's just what I didn't know about L. Ron Hubbard is that I think still to this day, he holds the Guinness Book of World Record of most books published. He has over 1,000 something publications. And early in his career, he was a pulp fiction writer. And so a large part of his content is science fiction. And so when you take that, and then when you hear the other things about what people said about the relationships that he had with his children and all these things, as an outsider, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I see it. It's crazy. And that's why for myself too, I'm going, are you ignoring is there some crazy that you're ignoring? That for as me as an outsider, you can see, oh yeah, this is all fiction. He made it all up. He wanted to start a religion. They have, him quoting those kinds of things and whatnot. So I don't know. I'll keep doing my research and just hopefully always stay cognizant if and when I start to move into the cult like direction.
Well, let us know how you get on. But I think you touched on a very interesting aspect, which is the power of suggestibility and the consciousness of all the people involved, both the victim, if you want to call them that, the client, the punter, the person who's paying the money, and the teacher, the manipulator on the other side. And as a basic human need, we all want to belong. And this goes back, I don't know if you've read Homo Sapiens by Yuval Harari. I mean, it is just fascinating. And Rory and I have had a little conversation about this, but going right the way back 300,000 years ago, if you didn't join in and belong, you were an outcast and you were probably going to get eaten. Right? So this very fundamental desire to connect and belong is very, very deep rooted. And if there's something that charms you and you would like to take a step forward towards it, and you can see a door that is there to be opened, that you can open it, or maybe the door is already open and you can step through and you can have a little look around. You say, well, this is actually very interesting. This is the kind of space that I would like to hang out in, and actually look at all these very charming people. They're interesting and engaging. I'd like to hang out with these people too. And so you can see how you just eventually fall down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there are a lot of rabbit holes out there.
I will be sending invitations to my cult soon.
Can I be in one of
Just-
the higher echelons?
Yeah.
Well, Rory, I mean,
I can't
gonna have
pay, but I'll do anything else.
we're gonna have to do
I
some
just want to
work
be at
on you
the
first.
top of that pyramid. That's fine.